Oh, it does, you know. I mean, and you know, when I come from an odd a bag of family members, like my uncle used to do trigonometry for fun, and
What?
yeah, dude, he was like he was one of the vice presidents of Boeing, worked on the Star Wars program.
Oh,
He,
wow.
yeah, I mean, he was just this big guy when it came to NASA and all that stuff, and you know, it's and then you've got me who can do something similar but without the math. it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's like oh, we're building things like robotic pieces and stuff. I don't have his mind for math, but he didn't have the mind for the creativity and the art form,
Right.
so that he would team up with those people. So it's just, I guess everybody complements everybody else. So
Man, it's so interesting because, like, I don't know, I think the Star Wars program is one of the things that, I mean, if you haven't researched it, definitely give it a Google. It's a super interesting fake deep space project that was going on, which I don't know, the way I look at it, I believe was more of a cover for, trying to get satellites in the air than anything else and starting to establish
yeah.
these networks.
To this day, well, he passed away a couple of years ago, but I could never get him to talk about it. The only thing that, and it made me, I don't know how old you are, but this is obviously going to date me, but he was working on the program with Dan Quayle, who was, vice president at the time. And, the vice president's usually the head of NASA, those particular programs and stuff like
Right,
that.
right.
And he would tell us how brilliant Dan Quayle was, and I would just be laughing hysterically. You mean the guy who can't spell potato? I mean, no one's going to remember that because it was so many decades ago. You know, but yeah, that was about all I ever really heard about it, was how brilliant Dan Quayle was.
Man, maybe he just had a mind for trigonometry.
Yeah,
You know?
maybe, because as much as I loved my uncle, he was a brilliant guy. He just had no common sense. Like some of the things that he was like, no, I don't think it would work like that. Love him to death, but from what I remember, the common sense was, was lacking. But he liked
Yeah, I mean, that's the way intelligences are, though. You know what I mean? Like people only have so much ability to interpret information, and some people, I'm sure you're the same way. You incorporate things and you learn things kinetically. Like you have to be able to run through it
Oh
and
yeah,
try something out once or twice before you get the hang of it. But other folks, if they're just visual learners or like your uncle, just mathematically minded, you're able to see patterns and like put stuff together. I mean, certain other types of intelligences, it's like I kind of look at it like water in a jar, right? You only have so much jar space for water.
exactly. And I wish they would have shown aspects of that on the Henson show or the Creature Shop,
Hmm.
because nothing rarely did anything go together like that. Like when I was working on that bird with Bobby, I think we called it Lady Caca. Um, there was so many different, like we worked on this crane thing to help suspend it and give it this natural bounce. That went out the window. We would shorten the crane, and it was just, I had this stupid, rig on, and
Yeah, yeah.
it was just, and then there was working with the trash creature, where we were trying to, was like, oh, first it's going to be a tail, but then you couldn't get the damn tail to work, so we moved the legs, and then how are we going to suspend the legs, and it was just there was a lot of, it was like R&D on the fly, and I wish they would have shown more of that on the show, less of the fake drama and more of that stuff, so
Yeah,
I don't
that's always been my complaint with reality shows is that I get it, drama sells. I mean, look at every major news outlet. They know what they're doing with drama. And they don't focus on the technicalities of it, right? Like it's kind of like Bear Grylls versus Survivor, man. Like Bear Grylls is going to give you a lot of dumb action and drama, but like if you really want to learn how to survive in the desert, Survivor Man's the way to go because he'll
yeah.
actually teach you something. And
Well,
yeah, I wish more reality TV was educational like that.
I feel like Les is the regular man, Survivor Man. He's the regular guy,
Yeah,
whereas Bear is more of the showman. Even though he's got the military background to prove his worth and stuff.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you're always waiting to see what disgusting ass thing that he's going to put in his mouth. It's like,
Yeah, that's why people are watching. Like, what's he gonna eat today?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah. It's going
oh
to be
man,
alive or not. Uh,
when that show first started, um, I was watching an episode, and I've never seen this episode replayed ever. I had the feeling they pulled it and they just pretended like it never existed. But the night it premiered, there was this mountain where he's like, or there was this episode where he's climbing this mountain, and like he comes across this wild stag, right? And his idea is, I'm gonna lure in this horse. I'm going to make a rope and I'm going to ride around and I'm going to ride him down the mountain. And he's just sitting there for like 5 hours, weaving this rope together. And then like he like puts it behind his back and he gets like some sweet grass and he's like slowly inching his way over to this horse. And like, eventually the horse comes over and like not even like a couple seconds, this horse eating this grass out of his hand. He just cold cocks it right in the side of the head. And he like he just cold cocks it. He throws the rope over its neck and the horse just takes off running and it like runs off camera, dragging him. And like further in the distance, it runs again, dragging him across the street. It was like a Stooges gag. You know what I mean? I'm like seriously?
oh my God. I do like watching stuff. Well, not obviously getting a horse getting punched. You're likely to hurt yourself more than that horse, to be
Oh,
completely
that
honest.
horse was about to mess him up.
Oh yeah, that you don't. I grew up on a farm, man. You don't screw with those animals that are outweigh you by 1,000 pounds.
I'm
But
saying.
there was this one. I can't remember what it was called. That it was about this lawman, this tracker. I think it was called Tracker. And they would have like 4 or 5, like a couple or something.
Mhm.
These people out there trying to run from him, and they were given like a day's head start or something, and then he would track them down and catch them before they could make it to like the home base and steal the flag or whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
um, that was always fun to watch because I don't think anyone ever actually beat this guy. Now that could have been part of the design of the show. Who knows? But it was always fun to watch. With our show, it's sci-fi didn't really want the drama. I mean, with the success of Face Off, where it was more of that workplace drama where you're just sort of freaking out about getting things done.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
yeah, that there's enough drama in just that you don't have to manufacture stuff like they tried to do with us a number of times, but we saw through it and we played away from it. And I remember hearing how pissed off some of the producers were, and these were the same producers that produced like RuPaul's Drag Race and what was it called, Project Runway,
Hmm.
where they were so used to the drama that they would just try to manufacture it. These story producers would just try to manufacture it, and we wouldn't fall for it. We completely twist away from it,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like they'd get pissed off about the fact that we were helping each other. Like I can't even believe it made an episode, but I think it was episode 4 when we were working on those big heads for the wall, and Donald Faison was this crazy, wizard that was bringing them to life one at a time. Um, they actually put it in the scene where I was finished with my creature, and Lex, a friend of mine on the show, was having a hard time getting her creature finished. There was some stumbling and stuff, and I offered to help her, and it made
Mhm.
it made the edit. I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe they actually put that in there. So there was a lot more of that going on than I think anyone even realized. There was like we would have these mechs. What is it? Animatronic mechanisms that didn't quite fit together. But it took a while for us to figure out that the parts were wrong, and it wasn't on purpose. It was just I think some parts got mixed up when they put these kits together.
Oh, gotcha. Now, see, I would say that would be a great way to, throw a monkey wrench into it. Just give you a
And they
piece that's
did, I
missing.
think,
Yeah.
inadvertently. And to be honest with you, I found out what would qualify as mechanisms because you're required to have a mechanism in that particular build, and I used it, and then I was done and moved on. While everyone else was trying to figure out what the hell was going on with these mechs, and they were burning time. They were
Right.
burning like 8 hours of build time trying to figure out these mechanisms, and if that was on purpose, that would make sense. You throw a curveball like that, but they were so adamant about the fact that it wasn't done on purpose that they actually had, I think it was John Criswell, went back and looked at them. He was one of the masters on the show, and he was like,
Mhm.
shit, I think that these were incorrect. And all of us respect John, so if John tells us that it was not by design, we're automatically going to believe him because we have a great deal of respect for him and Pete and you know and Julie. And so,
Right.
you know, I don't feel like it was intentional, but it did kill a lot of people. Even Yvonne was she's one of Yvonne has the biggest of all of our resumes. She was the one that's worked on any cool, what the hell is it? I the Mattel Marvel movie
Yeah, yeah.
Yvonne has been involved with. I mean, she came in with credits that were unbelievable. And she was eliminated that episode because of the fact that there were too many things that were screwed up. That was mechs were a big problem. We would give over things like projects. We had no choice. It was like
Mhm.
we sculpted this, and now we have to let somebody else mold it. And geez, are they going to screw it up? And they somehow screwed hers up. It had this big ass air bubble in it, and so
Ah.
she had to remanufacture her creature. And that ate up a ton of time, and she ended up not being able to finish, and was later eliminated. You know, but there was enough, I think, just us, like, did you see the first episode? I mean, did you get to see any of the episodes of the
I,
Henson
I
show?
I never watched the entire series all the way through, but I was a big fan of Face Off, which honestly, the thing I will say about Face Off is that it introduced a lot of people to the practicality and like steps
Oh
of how
yeah.
this stuff is done. So because I was such a fan of that, like I watched periodically, episodes here and there. So yeah, I'm familiar with some of this stuff that was done.
Well, like on our first episode, they stuck me with someone who never seemed, or didn't seem as if she had ever worked as a team before,
Okay.
and kept trying to take the lead. And it was driving me crazy because, there is a process that, you share the work, you don't necessarily, it, there, that by itself caused a great amount of, stress,
Yeah.
so that's, I guess that's, legitimate drama right there. And it ended up making the first episode, as
Mhm.
shameful as that actually was. But
Well, I
you
mean,
know,
you have to have experience to be able to lead. Like, if you're someone who's inexperienced really like working with a team and in that environment, then, you don't necessarily want to be the one taking the reins if you don't have experience doing that.
really, and in my viewpoint, it was, I sort of just finally just conceded to
Mhm.
trying to work with her in that particular respect, because I didn't want to come off as I'm the guy. So I'm the
Right,
older
right.
guy and I should be in charge. No, that's not how I wanted that to play out at all. I just I just wanted to get through the damn episode. I wanted to have a creature that worked. I wanted to not be eliminated, because, and I say this in my book. That's like the number one thing that's going through your head, because you don't fail once in a reality show. You fail millions of times, because
Oh,
every
yeah.
person that sees that will come up to you and remind you about that failure. And you know it sucks, but it's part of the gig.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be eliminated first. If the only thing going through your damn head in a reality show is, oh my god, I don't want to be eliminated first, and anyone who says that that doesn't go through their head is lying their ass off. I mean,
That would be what's going through my head right off the bat.
exactly.
But,
I
I
mean,
mean,
I went through military training. I was ex-military, so I went through basic
oh,
training and all that stuff.
yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't feel half the crap and drama and stupidity, in the military, going through all the, dig the ditch to fill it back in kind of stuff
Mhm.
that I did while I was on that show. It was chaos. It was, and yeah, as confident as I was in my abilities, it was like every damn day, God, I hope I'm not eliminated. But in the back of your head, you're thinking, God, I hope I'm eliminated just to get me the hell out of this insanity.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
crazy.
Well, I gotta say thank you for your service. I
Oh,
always
no
like to,
problem.
I always like to think of that when I get the opportunity to. But I mean, I feel like no matter what sort of artist you are, you kind of have that same kind of anxiety putting your work out there because, it's easy to be a critic. Everybody can be a critic. I mean,
Mhm.
I leave reviews for restaurants I haven't even gone to. Um, but, uh, but I mean, primarily, when you're on that kind of a platform, a reality show, I mean, I feel like even if you don't win, like you at least want to make it to the semifinals, just so you can hang. You know what I mean? It's just kind of
Oh
like
yeah.
it's just kind of a test of like your own talent and fortitude at that point.
And and all the time that you've given up, all of that. I mean, you're not really getting paid. I mean, they'll give you like a stipend
Yeah,
to offset things, but we had it's funny. We had the Henson show, Henson company behind us, and we had the worst stipend I think in all of the the reality show. I mean, from what I've been told. I mean, I think we
really.
got something like $400 a week or something to go through all that hell and to work all those long hours and all
Yeah,
that
that's
stuff
ridiculous.
to live in the shithole that we were living in. And you'll notice on our show, you won't see any footage of the cast house. And I do believe that was by design because the cast house was such a shithole that there was no one wanted a camera in there because it
Yeah,
was associated with the Henson show. Why
right,
are
right.
they, in this situation? We had a we had an insect infestation. The water
Oh, not
heaters.
roaches, right?
Oh, I can't even. There was ants, different kinds of like beetles, and like we would have so one of the water heaters needed to be swapped out because it just totally went out on us, and so
Yeah.
we were taking cold showers for several days before they got that fixed. Then there was what the hell was it? There was this weird toilet backup issue in the women's side of the
Ugh.
house where there were these roots growing through the pipes. So whenever the girls would, they would flush and it would go into the drain of the shower. And so
Oh,
it was like that's disgusting. And if you were in the cast house and you were cooking, a lot of times we would cook, for each other,
yeah, yeah.
you had to have somebody manning the breaker outside, because you couldn't run the stove or the microwave at the same time, or you trip a breaker. You couldn't run the coffee maker and say the garbage disposal at the same time because you trip a breaker. And if you were using the stove, you had to have somebody with a big sheet of cardboard by a window to fan it because you needed to blow the smoke out the window because it would set off these alarms and you'd hear this fire. It would just be
Oh.
like, it was this woman saying, fire, find an exit, fire, find an exit. And
I
it
mean,
was, it was horrible.
like I can see why the Henson brand didn't want them to be associated with that, but I gotta say that would make some damn good television.
I'm going to show you something that no one else has seen. And I know you probably set this up as as just an audio only, right?
I just started reviewing or recording the video sessions as well, but I don't know. Sometimes the video with Zoom gets sketchy, so if the video doesn't quality doesn't come out all right, then yeah, I usually just do audio.
This was you've seen like the bedrooms in the cast house of Face Off, right?
Right.
This, you'll see your little picture in the corner there. That was, I'm trying to get it to focus in. Maybe I need to come back a little bit.
Yeah, right
That
there. Good.
was the epitome of the decor in the whole house. There was there were no curtains on the windows. There were these military style racks that we slept in. No images on the walls at all. No carpeting. So
Yeah.
when you talked, it echoed through there like you wouldn't believe. Um, and the girls had these sliding glass doors in their bedrooms, so
Hmm.
they had to go to Target when we got our little Target runs and buy blankets that they could hang over those windows so that they wouldn't have any neighborhood peeping toms checking them out while
Gee.
they were changing or whatever. This was the most ghetto setup you've ever seen in your life.
Now,
Horrible.
now, see, at least tell me that, over the years since, sci-fi has at least made it up by getting you like projects for like, different movies and stuff. Because I
Oh no,
assume,
no,
really?
no. See, this is the thing, and I, with all due respect to sci-fi, I have nothing against them. The producers put the show together.
Hmm.
Sci-fi just picked it up, so they had their control on the production side, mainly the editorials and shit like that. But
Right.
the business side of it, the housing and all that stuff, is all the producers. So you know they don't care. Sci-fi doesn't care, and we kept trying to tell them, listen, we Face Off, the Henson show, we had like 15 million viewers the
Oh
last
yeah.
I heard. You know, the Face Off, the Henson show, we have a following at Comic Cons. I mean, we are basically what all of these cosplayers are, but we're on television, and so
Yeah.
that's why Heroes of Cosplay was so big. That's why Face Off is so big, and we would tell them, if you only worked with that Comic Con to bring us out together so that you could show off sci-fi's reality programming, we could just explode. But sci-fi doesn't give a damn about the reality shows. They only care, and this is the pretty much the case for all of them. They only
Right.
care about their scripted programming, like their television series and stuff like that, that are more dramatic and things like that. They'll help promote those guys, but they don't give a damn about the reality show. Essentially, we're just filler.
Right.
So like guys like me who took it upon myself to connect with Comic Cons and try to bring us out as groups. The reason why we were there as the Henson show and Face Off together were because guys like me put it together, and we knew the benefit of being at these Comic Cons, because we were builders, and
Yeah.
that's what a Comic-Con audience is. Anytime anybody goes to a Comic-Con, you see a sea of cosplayers.
Oh
Those
yeah.
are all builders. You are essentially putting programming on television that those people love, because it's what they do, it's what they love. And you know you're not going to back us. I mean, it just, like, we couldn't even do interviews. I finally stopped asking. I'm like, I just started doing interviews, because technically right now I'm not even allowed you know, to be doing an interview with you unless I get permission from Sci-Fi. It's like, to hell with that. I
Yeah.
mean, I just, it was just, it's insane. And that's basically, when I started thinking about all the crazy that went on in the show, and I'm like, even if you're a consumer of reality programming, you would be, your jaw would hit the floor to
Right.
hear some of the shit that went on behind the scenes of this reality show. Because I don't think it's just this reality show. I think it's conducive of a lot of them, but
Hmm.
people don't know what crap is going on. So I pitched to a publisher, you know, I just came off a reality show. It was insane. Here's a description of some of the stuff that I went through. And they greenlit that book that day. And so they gave me like 2 months to write it. I put it together, and it's called Surviving Reality. This is not that show. And it basically talks about everything that we dealt with as contestants or cast members of the show, you know, and even the publishers were like, in some cases, they're like, this has got to be bullshit. I'm like, it is absolutely not bullshit. And I can corroborate it by, blah, blah, blah. And they were just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
blown away. I mean, and these are people who are pretty jaded about things. And I was able to scare the hell out of them. I was just, some of the things like the cast house, that whole, we had this huge in-ground pool. I think I might even be able to show you that. Let me pull that up real quick. We had this huge in-ground pool, and it was definitely a mansion. Let me see if I can pull this there. So it was definitely a mansion, but what you don't see in that photograph is
Hmm.
just over here. There were these dead rats that were clearly suicide victims,
Oh.
that had offed themselves because they were so disappointed about being where they were. So we had rats in the swimming pool, toilets that didn't flush. We had a laundry mat set up downstairs with no lights. So if you didn't do your laundry during the day, you were screwed. If you forgot to move it from the washer to the dryer while you were on set, you know,
What?
before you left for the set in the morning, you were screwed. It was there. It was so damn pathetic. No heating system, no cooling system, unless you opened the windows, and then it was called forced air. It was just insane. I mean, and that's just the damn cast house. And I know I'm forgetting some things that are probably in the book about the cast house that that I haven't told you yet. So I
Yeah.
mean, there was all this stuff, and it was just, and I had to leave some of it out because at some point it just sounds like, what the hell? And so, maybe someday I'll come out with the second edition, what has the missing stuff in it, because it's just, what the hell, man?